All right, NoSo Countdown. We're here with the number 4 Royal Rumble resume, and that is the rated R superstar Edge. It's me and Scott Shifflett. How you doing, Scott?
Logan, I'm always glad to see your beautiful face. I consider myself somewhat of an Edge fan more than most people we know, but I just can't see how he's number four jumping off the top here. If we look at his stats right here, he has two wins are pretty nice. Like he won in 2010 and then 11 years later in 2021 and probably the least viewed Rumble ever. He has five Final Fours, which is impressive. 25 eliminations. His total time was 3 hours and 32 minutes and 56 seconds, which, give Gunther two more Royal Rumbles and he'll probably already have that beaten. He's been in nine total Rumbles. Most of the time, as you told me, he was in world title matches, which, makes sense because he dominated a lot of the era. He has 25 eliminations, which is no small feat. But if you look at the year that he won, Logan, 2021, he only had three eliminations and he came in number one. I'm expecting six or seven if you're going to be number one and touching everyone, but it was just I don't know. The best part of the Rumble for me with Edge was when him and Christian reunited temporarily.
Yeah, and I mean, even Christian comes in at the end, and it's not they don't really team up that much except for the very end of the match. And like you said, he only gets 3 eliminations, and he lasts the whole time. But him and Randy start the thing out, and they had the feud the previous year. So really, I mean, past them fighting there at the beginning, it's not much of anything that he does. He lays around a lot. He's in the corner a lot. Him and Ricochet have a little thing somewhere in the middle where they kind of interact a little bit, but other than that, he does a lot of corner laying and not much is going on. But yeah, that Christian meetup was pretty cool. But do any other of his performances really stand out to you off the top of your head?
Yeah, the 2021. Not only was it when Kobe died, RIP, it was the day that Kobe died, but him returning, no one had heard of. It came out of nowhere. I remember like our little group chat just went crazy, like, oh wow, oh my god, and just like he came out, was like, you think you know me? Thought he was done, and then he comes out, he gets the big ovation. Like I would have been okay with him winning, to be honest. Like I know Drew won, but the way the 2020 Mania went, like I wouldn't have been angry if he would have won. But that's what really pops in my head. The 2 years that he won, 2010, like he was rushed back. Like JT and Scott just talked about it on Place to Be Nation before they changed the format up, was how like he was like still kind of sucking wind and out of shape when he came back and won that Rumble and then faced Jericho. And I know that was a ready-made feud, but you didn't have to do it with the Rumble. Like when Edge got hurt, Jericho was like making fun of him for being like, I carried the team and everything. So, did he really need that Rumble? No. I don't really know who you would have given it to in 2010. Maybe HBK and just have that world title match. Maybe Taker versus HBK world title versus streak and career. Like just load everything up on it and still have a grudge match with Edge and Y2J. But he didn't really do much in that match. He was only in that match for 5 minutes and he won. It's like, do you really deserve it if you've been in there for 5 minutes? And then I went back and watched his 99 and 2000 Rumbles. First off, 99 Rumble may be the worst Rumble ever. It's the epitome of the attitude. It was basically like a WCW Nitro where they talk about the NWO and Hulk Hogan the whole time. That's what Cole and Lawler did during that whole Royal Rumble, especially when Edge was in there. Like, man, he came in at 5, but no one cared. Austin McMahon was fighting on the outside. And then Gilbert came in. Edge's only elimination 99 Royal Rumble was Gilbert. And I called this the lower mid card Rumble because that's what it felt like. Because Steve Blackman came in, then Dan Severn, charisma vacuums. Tiger Ali Singh, another charisma vacuum. Commentary wasn't even talking about the Rumble. Blue Mini came out, then Mabel came out, and Mabel was then abducted by the Acolytes. And then Road Dogg, crowd woke up by that, and then Edge was eliminated by Road Dogg. That was
Yeah.
his whole 99 Rumble. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, the way they booked the 99 Rumble was just so poor because it was all about Austin and McMahon, and they come in first and second, but they brawl, and then nobody cares about it until it comes back, which you can't blame them. But I mean that's just how it goes. Edge seems to be one of those guys that he always came in like. He came in fifth like 4 or 5 times. It's crazy to think about. So he always came in early, but he always seemed to last quite a long time. Just seemed like he was somebody they trusted. But I feel like once you get past about 05, he does a lot of laying around, and he doesn't really do too much in the match, but he seems like to be a central real part of it. So that's what I got a lot out of watching most of his segments and kind of paying attention to what he was doing the whole time.
Yeah, Logan, and even in the 2000 Rumble, he does nothing, and that's like another mid card Rumble. Like, I know the Attitude Era is beloved, but I think as we get further away from that, it's like, yes, the Ultimate McMahon stuff was great, the Rock stuff was great, the mid card, I mean, the main event and the tag team scene was great, but other besides that, it's just horrible. Like in the 2000 Rumble, like Edge comes out at 13. Like we already have Bossman and Gangrel in there and Bulldog, so it's not much going on. And the only elimination that Edge is a part of is when they do the group elimination of Rikishi, who had that strong rumble. But then he does nothing. It's just like Edge and Bossman fighting in the corner. Then Gangrel and Bulldog team up on him. Then Al Snow came and attacked the Edge with some theme music I didn't even remember. And then Venus came out and basically just tossed him over the top rope, and that was the end of it. Now, I would argue, like I know, like we have here the worst years, 2023. I would say 99 or 2000. Probably 99 is his worst Rumble, to be completely honest. I know he wasn't a main eventer yet, but it's just like I think everyone takes a back seat to that Rumble, and it makes everyone look like shit. If I'm being completely honest, it's shocking that he has 2 wins. Me and you discussed privately the 2021 win. Who would you have given that win to?
Man, that year was really confusing. Like even going in, I didn't really know who I wanted or thought would win. Kind of rewatching it and knowing kind of who ended up in the title match anyways, I probably would have given it to Brian just to give him a win. He didn't win the couple that, a lot of people thought he might. So I might have just given it to him since he ends up in the title match anyways. McIntyre was the WWE champion at the time, and he doesn't end up being champion by the time Mania rolls around. You can't really give it to him. And Lashley wasn't, at that point yet, I don't think, but he's kind of building that way. So Brian seems to be about the only other option, I'd say, if he was going to be in the title match anyways. Edge is probably the one guy that has 2 wins that probably didn't deserve the second one all that much. So, I mean, he wins, but honestly, I think that's his worst performance because, like I said, he's gassed and just lays around. And, I mean, I know he wins, obviously, so it can't be his worst. But I think, for the most part, 2023 is probably his worst on our little graphic that we have. He's in for, like, a minute, and Judgment Day kind of pulls him out. So, yeah, a real short performance for him. But he also, like I said, he also throws out Finn and Priest. But Finn comes back and pulls him out. So there is that. So yeah.
I mean, that should tell you how inconsequential that is, Logan. Because
Yeah.
me and you were there sitting in the same row, and I had no recollection that he was in that match.
Yeah,
None.
I had no memory, but going back to what you said, the 2020 is definitely, I feel like the peak, just because the return and nobody kind of knew it was happening. It was a huge shock. I feel like he had been kind of implying that he wanted to come back, but he never had, and he had been so adamant that like what this neck thing wasn't ever going to let him go. But he came through it, and he was there, and it was a huge shock, and he looked great in it. That's probably the best he's looked since he came back, because his face has gotten more and more sunken in throughout the last few years. But we'll move on to the next part. Does he kind of live up to the hype as an overall competitor, like kind of looking at his stats and stuff?
To be honest, when I think of Edge, I don't think of Royal Rumbles. So to see him like locked here at 4 is completely shocking to me. It's also one of those things like where he's here so long, does his stats just like it's like a baseball when like a player's played like 20 seasons and it's like, well, he's got 3,000 hits, he's got 400 home runs, 200 stolen bases. I guess we got to put him in the Hall of Fame. So that's what it kind of feels like. I'm not saying Edge is a bad performer. I'm just saying his Royal Rumble performance isn't up to par, but like if you're there long enough, you're going to accumulate stats. And since he was in a main event, it's not like he was, Rikishi or someone who was in all these rumbles and only had one rumble where he really shone. But it's just shocking to say the least. Like with all these stats, like he's number 4. Like I think the stats are overrated with this because when I think of Edge, like I don't think of he's a 2-time Rumble winner. I think of like the Rated R Superstar. I think of him like Money in the Bank more and TLC. I don't think of Royal Rumble, and for him to have 2 Rumble wins and be part of that illustrious group with 2 wins, kind of low key pisses me off. If I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I remember being kind of angry that he won that 2021 one. So I think he's definitely probably the least of the 2-time winners. I mean, just going through some of his stats, he has 25 total eliminations. I think he gets 5 and 5 in back-to-back rumbles. He is in 05 and 07 when he is in those rumbles. He has a title match in between, obviously. And his total time in the Royal Rumble is 3 hours, 32 minutes, and 55 seconds. Like I said, he comes in early a lot. He obviously lasts the whole time in 2021. I don't think he needed to be the guy that won from one. I don't think that's something he needed on his resume, and I don't think his body and like cardio was up to it at that point. But he was the Iron Man twice. He was the Iron Man in '07, and obviously when he won. And it seemed like anytime he was in the Rumble past about '05, he was in the Final Four if he's in the Rumble at all. So, like I said, he has a ton of title matches, usually retains because he's usually the heel champion kind of going in. But yeah, I think his kind of stats are a little bit overrated, just for the fact that I think he's in there a lot of time. But like I said, '07, he kind of lays around a lot. Even the fact that he's only in for a little bit in 2010, he really lays around a lot for the 5 or 7 minutes that he's in, and even though he wins again. I feel like in '05 he was very active, but ever after that he was in a lot, but not really doing too much, or not the main focus, kind of what was going on.
Yeah, definitely diminishing returns right there. I will agree. Like, we said earlier, the peak 2020. And it's just like, maybe it was the peak for the whole year for everyone. But it just seems like he's so lackadaisical. Like his high is high, but his like median and his low are just like bottom of the barrel. I know he has 2 wins, and I can't remember if it was unexpected for him to return when he came back in 2010, but it's just like, all right. I don't know. 2021 seems like, thanks for sticking it out for us in this year. You and Randy sort of carried us at certain parts. So here's your, like, not really a participation trophy, but it's like, here's your Rolex for working 40 years. We appreciate it. Royal Rumble win and WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, and back to 2010. Yeah, I think he was supposed to be out much longer. I think he could have been back at Mania, but him coming back at the Rumble was kind of surprising at the time. But yeah, that one, I don't think that one needed to be for the title. Like you said, I don't really know who they could have given it to otherwise. So I think Sean would have been a good choice. He would have been a 3-time winner at that point, I guess. But Sean and Taker being for the title, and maybe putting the stipulations they did on it as well could have been a little more interesting. But yeah, that one's a definitely weird one. But any final thoughts, and do you have anything you like to plug?
Just final thoughts. Like, the stats look good, but if you actually investigate the stats, they don't hold up. I would have him towards the bottom 10, if I'm being completely honest. If we're doing top 10, like maybe 8 or 9. But I would have to look. These numbers don't lie. Like, it's just It's like the stats are there, but like the body of work. And plugs. I got leaking up Lucha every other Sunday on the NoSo feed, YouTube Roulette on PTBN. That can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shifflett. What about you, Logan? Any plugs?
Yeah, I mean, just final thoughts. Yeah, I think the numbers kind of lie on this one. Not gonna lie. But yeah, like you said, linking up Luchas on the North South Connection, talking docs on the North South Connection, and Highway to the Impact Zone on the Place We Nation Wrestling feed. But we had fun discussing Edge here, and we'll look forward to the next one. See ya.